Hey, what's up? So today I wanted to go over the topic of process. I think that you can have the best strategy presented to you, and I think that you can have, um, you know, someone who basically shows you verbatim uh, exactly how to play their setup. However, I think that there are a million nuances when it comes to the different ways a setup can present itself. And I think the only way for you to be able to understand exactly how or what those nuances are that really give the biggest edge, um, I think you need a lot of screen time. I think you need to um, really just have a proper process. And the same thing with execution as well. You won't be able to execute properly, even if they tell you like short here, stop loss here, profit target there. You won't be able to execute perfectly unless you really have the back tested knowledge, which is your system, and then B, the proper process of, you know, what is a mistake? What does a mistake look like? What does a good entry look like? What does a good exit look like? You can you can do this like kind of in hindsight. You can get repetitions outside of the market, and I think one of the easiest ways uh, to do that is to have a proper process. And I think that if you can manage to have a daily process as far as how you are planning and looking to improve, um, you need to follow whoever you're learning from. Try to learn their process before, or as well as their thought process, right? Try to learn their way of thinking, their approach to the markets, critique it. Don't never take it for face value, but a always have your own personalized process that makes is a easy for you. It doesn't feel like homework. It is super simple, um, and it doesn't need to be long and tedious. Like I will tell you my process and how I look to improve consistently. Uh, so the very first thing with my process, as far as like how I look to improve when it comes to trading outside of the markets. Um, so the very first thing that I will do after I'm done with every session is I will screenshot all of my executions on multiple time frames. Number two, I will then journal my thought process on those trades. Okay. The reason for this is so that you will quite honestly make multiple mistakes. It doesn't matter whether you have a clear cut system or not. Mistakes are part of the game. Whether it's hesitation, whether it's too early of an entry, whether you're oversized, um, and mapping out why you had that, even as simple as like one or two words, or even just one sentence, is enough for this type of thing. Um, the key distinction is to or the key purpose of this is so that you can identify the um and I'll write it down. The purpose is to identify common behaviors that lead to mistakes. And then from there you can create a systematic protocol or solution to fix the behavior. So one thing is like oversizing. Okay, if you have a issue with oversizing or undersizing, um, then you can do something like make it systematic, which means you can just create hotkeys, and that way you're not thinking or trying to do any mathematical discretion on how much of a position you should put on any singular play. this will fix the behavior, at least in the short term. Um, you know, having it automated as much as possible, and this goes with a lot of things, it will help. Let's say you have an issue with overtrading or boredom trading. Um, one thing that will help is narrowing your scans to only see the things that you want to see. Of course, at the end of the day, you do need some sort of discipline to implement the systems that you've made. So, like with hotkeys, you have to make sure that you use them. You know, if you don't use them, it's not really going to do anything for you. The same thing with scans. If you switch over to a general scan constantly through the day just to see if there's a play, because you don't see anything on your real scan, you're just going to fall right back into bad behaviors. Um, the third thing is um, document all the biggest movers of the day. Screenshot them on multiple time frames. I typically will do the daily. I'll screenshot the daily. I'll screenshot the 1 minute. I'll screenshot the 5 minute. I'll screenshot the 15 minute. Um, the reason for this is a lot of institutions will trade off of larger time frames. However, there is also edge with smaller time frames, um, and small caps, depending on what is happening in the ticker at the time. Uh, typically, the sharper the move, the the lower the time frame, for at least shorting, uh, and the less sharp a move is, the larger the time frame you want to be looking at. So, um, being able to screenshot all these different time frames helps me put the move in a better perspective than I would be in real time. And I miss a lot of moves. I don't place a ton of trades through the day. I mean, usually just like one or two. I look for the best and ideal scenarios when I trade. Even if I have a great potential play in front of me, I won't force it. So, um, doing this has helped because it helps me identify, like, okay, what are the key common behaviors to what usually leads to the biggest moves. Uh, I would recommend studying price action on multiple time frames. Like I said, screenshot them, and also studying the volume associated with those time frames. This is how you develop a discretionary edge over time. I'm sure you can systematize everything to some degree, but as you look at the biggest movers of the day and you study what happens before that and what happens after that, you gain a really clear sense that there is or should might be edge, based on the fact that you're seeing something repeat multiple times. And the longer you do this, the more edge you'll develop over time. So, um, and then four, journal your stats. So, um, it could be as simple as making an Excel sheet and then plugging in different columns, date, symbol, or ticker, um, realized realized gain or loss, so your P&L, um, risk on the trade, how much did you risk, and then your RR, so your risk to reward on the trade. Your risk should be determined before you place the trade. Actually, your risk should be determined before you even enter the session. Um, but having just these data points will help you develop different rules for your specific statistics, right? So if you have a low win rate, but a high risk to reward. You can develop different systematic protocols like having a max daily loss or uh, at a specific R. There's a lot of different things you can do with this. It's just really important because at the end of the day, you want to track your equity curve. Your equity curve is going to be a direct reflection of your performance. The choppier it is, the less sustainable your strategy typically is. And the cleaner the equity curve, which means not too many dramatic drops in the equity curve, um, the more sustainable it is over the long term. So that's it for today. I just want to kind of promote the message that it's not necessarily the setup. It's the small amount of like consistent behaviors that you do within your process that really makes up whether or not you'll become profitable over the long term or not. If you can manage to do this, I don't care if you're unprofitable. If you can intently dissect the biggest movers every single day, you'll gain edge. It doesn't matter whether you're long, whether you're short. Um, it doesn't matter what setup you're playing. If you can literally do this process like every single day, and this whole thing takes me no longer than like 10 to 20 minutes every single day. Um, my journaling is like really short. Like sometimes it's literally just a couple words. So you don't need to make it complicated, and you don't need to deep dive. Deep diving, you know, maybe on the weekends, you can do that. So um, go into every single chart, look at every single, you know, uh, you can do this on the weekends, right? This is a lot more time intensive, looking at multiple time frames and really dissecting it. But just screenshot them. You don't even have to study them um, every day. This literally takes me only like 10-20 minutes. So having a process as far as like how you're going to track yourself and um, how you're going to improve is really, really important. I think all the best traders have some sort of way of tracking themselves and the overall markets. I think the most profitable traders usually look primarily at the biggest moves. They look to study the biggest moves, and then they study their performance. So yeah, just key in primarily on your process and you'll be fine. So thanks for listening.